to the U.S. Census Bureau, 19.7 million children, more than 1 in 4, live without a father at home. I strongly, with all my heart, think that every male has to reach a certain maturity level before even thinking about having children. The idea that a child will help mature a male is a game of chance. Like many things in life, there will be a small percent that do. However, most like any other job, will not succeed without the proper training, knowledge, and responsibility, and understanding the value of raising a child. This is the FOF podcast, and today we'll be speaking on the subject of male role models. Stay tuned. Welcome. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Welcome to the FOF podcast. We're back. We've been out of studio for about 2 weeks, but we're back here and ready to roll. Today's topic, we're talking about male role models. Before we start, let's introduce our co-hosts. I'm Giovanni. We're going to start with John right after.
All right. Yeah, as he said, glad to be back again in the office, guys. Today was a trippy day. Selma, how was your day?
Man, my day was good. It was a little weird. I woke up. I thought I had woke up early, but it turns out I had woke up late. This whole, I don't know, eclipse of smoke that we had, it was disorienting. But, you know, overall, my day was good. I can't complain much. I did forget my mask. Everyone else got those cool masks on. I got my old disposable mask on, looking like a doctor or something.
Looking like a doc.
Next time I'll have my mask on.
Yeah. Deep? What's going on?
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
It's good to see everyone and be back in the studio. You know, Jamie made a comment that, like, oh, it feels like we're kind of doing it, you know, the studio thing for the first time in a while, and it's true. But it's nice to be back. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It does feel good being back. Feels a little more natural. We're actually in a studio this time. Though, you know what? I will say I had fun last week doing it through Zoom. It was cool.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I think it was fun,
yeah.
And to know that we have that accessible now to where if anything were to happen like it did this past week, we figured out how to work it. We worked out the kinks, kind of trial and error kind of thing. But I think it went up. I think it went pretty well for the most part. Hopefully you guys think so too. But
yeah,
sure.
Man. And you guys, I don't know, we didn't mention it yet, but this is the grand finale for season 1.
Mm-hmm.
This is our 10th episode.
Time for
That's
us.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Hard to believe that, but
Yeah.
we decided at the very beginning we're gonna do 10 episodes. So this is the 10th. We're gonna take a short hiatus. Did I say that right?
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it right.
Yeah, we're gonna take a short hiatus, and then we're gonna be back. Don't worry, we will be back. We're just gonna work on making it a little better, and yeah, I'm excited for that.
How do you guys feel about the first season so far?
Man,
Just quick off the top.
I feel like it was a really good learning experience. We learned a bunch. I feel like every episode's gotten better and better, and I'm really excited to just kind of go back, put what we've all learned through our experience together, and then develop our game plan for season 2, because I think it's just going to be that much better. Seriously.
Yeah.
I definitely echo that. Like, there was a lot of trial and error. But one thing is that I feel like it made me more comfortable, like in the studio and talking to everyone, and everyone else, it seems like they've really, you know, came out of the shell a little bit more and kind of found, you know, rhythm with everything. So yeah, exactly. A good learning experience.
You know, I think that when we first came in, like the first meeting that we had, like in Somo and I, we had a sort of general consensus of what we wanted to do. I think we evolved as a show. I think that there's a lot of things that we took from it that we're gonna incorporate in the second season, and we have a whole bunch of new stuff that's coming up the second season that I hope you guys like. But with that being said, if there's any suggestions or anything that you guys think that will strengthen our content, we are more than open for suggestions. This is very much your show as it is our show. This is a show for Richmond, if anything, I believe. I think when we first started I think our goal off bat was to get to a point where we can get monetized to help fund the scholarship program. So also do keep that into consideration. Tell a friend, tell 2 friends. Hopefully they can trickle down. We can use the trickle down effect and get some more people. The goal is 1,000 followers and 4,000 views. I think the views probably get there with the quantity of content that we put out. But yeah, so help us out, definitely.
Run those views up. ASAP. Tell your friends. Tell your grandma. Tell your dog.
Yep, exactly.
Everybody needs to be watching this.
Yeah, I had a good time doing it. Like Diana said, there was a learning experience as well. We learned a lot with the do's and don'ts. I mean, the first thing when we started doing it, I felt like, we had a goal that we wanted to do, but we weren't really structured. But as time went on, I think we all started, learning things, what and what not to do. But overall, I've had fun. I like the subjects that we've hit on so far. I kind of want to say it's been like doing a project for like high school, the easiest way, doing some research on things. We're not all experts on any of these subjects, but we educate ourselves to find out more information, or the information that we do have, some of us know a little more than others. So each one of us bringing that subject and just talking about it, just starting a dialogue. I mean, we've had a lot of great subjects this first season. If you missed those, go ahead and go back and look at them.
And you know what I didn't expect, that it does take a certain amount of courage or like bravery to do this type of thing and put yourself out there, open up, talk about your experiences, share your opinion on video, because then people can always go back and hear it and see it. So it's a little bit stressful sometimes when you talk about certain subjects. It could be, hot topics, and people could have different opinions on it. And, you don't want to offend anyone. That's never been my motive. But at the same time, I feel like it's important to me that I tell my opinion truthfully. So you got to find that middle ground sometimes, and I guess express yourself in a way that you want to be perceived as, because it's easy to say something and have people misperceive it, and then it's like your message gets just distorted. So it's a challenge to be clear. Communication.
And it's funny you say that, because I actually seen a meme maybe 2 days ago. It says just because we're friends doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, which I think is true. Like you just said, expressing your opinion, being straightforward, that's the best thing you could do. Being honest, starts a dialogue, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I think if you're my friend and we agree on everything, you'll no longer be my friend after a few months. I think I'd be irritated after a while. But with what Anselmo said, as far as sort of it being hard, picking your battles when it comes to certain issues and topics that you want to tackle, I want to give our guests definite mad props, because they're coming in here maybe not as prepared as we are, and they're putting their stories and their experiences on air, on wax, as they say in the industry. Look at me, talking like
throwback, wax
on wax. But it takes a lot. People will go back and nitpick, I think, a few of the things that we'll say, and most likely they may have a valid reason to go back and look through our stuff and comb our mistakes. But I think that's the sort of where we wanted to go with it, though. Natural, sort of organic, telling it how it is, telling at least in our eyes how it is. But we definitely do put in some work when it comes to this. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in and taking the time to listen to us.
Definitely. Like you said, we've had a lot of people share their experiences ourselves. I feel like I've learned a few things about you guys, and I've also learned about the guests that we've had. And as far as the people who tune in, they comment and chime in on, events that they've had, or, different situations that we've talked about. So it's been a whole team effort from us to you guys, to the guests that have came on. So thank you. This is the first season, so I mean, hopefully we improve. We will improve. So tune in and let's get started on today's subject. You guys want to do that?
Let's do it.
All right. So today's subject, I decided to talk about male role models, just because it's hitting home for me. Ready to have my first boy. He will be born in about 2 months. November 15th is the due date. So I decided to talk about it.
Are you nervous?
Not really. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it, because I actually feel that I'm ready. Like, I've never been more ready in my life. Just mental state. Like, I'm not nervous. I'm not scared. All I think about right now is just what I'm going to be doing with my child, all the exciting things. And I think if maybe I had a child 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been thinking this. I would have been selfish, thinking about things like, where am I going this weekend? But now, no, I'm serious, right?
Y'all didn't meet G 5 years ago.
Yeah.
G 5 years ago, bouncing off the walls, G. That's what I used to call it.
So I feel like I've calmed down. Like, I'm 33. I think it's a good age. And another reason why I want to talk about this subject is because I feel that it needs to be brought up, how, being a young dad can really affect a child's life. I want to throw a couple statistics out there for you guys, just to get kind of started with a few things that I've looked up. One of the things, according to the U.S. census, less than 6% of all fathers of minors, kids under 18, are solo dads. So 6% of dads are solo dads, but 20%, about 7 million, are absent dads. So that means about 1 out of every 5 dads are not in their child's life. And I think that is pretty high. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you for clarification
Yeah.
really quickly? So when you say solo dads, do you mean dads that are, it's like separated from their baby mamas, or is it just the dad, baby mama is completely out of the picture?
So it's completely out of the picture. It's dads who are raising kids by themselves. No help from anybody else. So 6% of dads are raising kids with no help.
So the proper definition for solo fathers is fathers who parent alone, rarely choose to do it that way. That's the definition. Yeah.
So yeah, about 7 million in the United States. So of course, statistics anywhere else. We live here in the United States. So I wanted to bring that to you. 7 million are absent fathers in the United States right now. Here's another one I thought was interesting. A study out of 263 13 to 18-year-old adolescent women seeking psychological services found that the adolescent from father-absent homes were 3.5 times more likely to experience pregnancy than were their adolescents from their father being there. Let's see. So the rate of pregnancy among adolescents from absent fathers is 17.4 compared to only 4% that have their dad in their lives. I think that speaks, like that it's a significant amount. It's 3 times the amount. So a young woman having a child is more likely to have it at a younger age if her dad is not there. And I think, I just want to hit it as far as like women and men both suffer from not having a father at home. And another statistic that I want to bring up is 65% of African American black children live in a single parent home, and 45% of Latin Hispanic children live in a single parent home. Those numbers are high, and the reason I bring it up is because I myself am a Latino, and I um, and brought the black statistics as well, because a lot of my friends and brothers are black as well. So I think we need to address these numbers and kind of just go at it and bring awareness to it. You know, if we don't speak on it, then I don't think there'll be any. There's no there's no curing this. You know what I mean? I've had conversations with a lot of my friends who are fathers, and just telling them things like there is a cycle. Once there's like a broken home, they learn it. The kids are more likely to do the same thing and repeat it. So it becomes a cycle. And I wanted to ask a question. So to start off, I want to ask John. You mentioned in prior episodes that you were raised in a house full of women. More importantly, for this episode, you're raised by your mother. Growing up, did you gravitate to any male role models, whether that be a family member, coach, teacher? And if so, do you feel you've learned things that your mother probably wasn't able to teach you?
Thank you for asking me that question, Gio. So before I begin, Marco, were you raised? Did you have your father in your life, Marco?
Yes, I did.
So Marco did. So there's 1, 2, 3, 5 people here. I grew up with an absent father, so that statistic seems accurate.
Yeah.
So 1 of every 5 Latino.
It's crazy. It's because it's true.
Right.
5 of us in here,
That's
and
crazy,
yeah,
We're literally
yeah.
living the
Right now.
statistic right now.
So the statistics I'm giving you right now, it's true.
True.
So
It's
I'm
not
not
fake
just
news.
yeah.
So I was indeed raised by only women in my life. Although my mom was there a lot, I was raised primarily by my sister. My older sister was the one who spent most of the time with us, meaning my younger sister and I. So there's 3 of us all together that grew up in one household. And at a younger age, I didn't gravitate towards any role model. I think now that I'm older, I've come to realize that maybe it was because there were few and far in between. There wasn't really any male role models out there for me to gravitate to. I had nobody that was in my immediate family that sort of took that role, filled that role. I had an uncle who was, let's just say, fighting his demons at the time. So he was, not a role model per se. And with all that being said, I don't, at a young age, I didn't really feel like I had a void in my life. But as I started getting older, that kind of started to change, not drastically, but very, very slowly. I started to notice sort of the awkwardness sometimes of not having a father. I remember a few times, there's a lot of vivid memories, excuse me, that I remember, but one in particular was when I went to go play soccer at a tournament in Morgan Hill, and I was actually a pretty good soccer player back in the day. So I would always get a lot of parents and stuff coming to me after the games and telling me hey, you're doing a great job, your dad raised you right. And I just remember a group of of 3 guys, 3 older guys, just talking to me sort of referring to my dad and stuff like that, right? For a cool minute, and in an awkward conversation, the 1 and 2 minutes kind of seems like a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely.
What do I say? You know what I'm saying? And I just kind of kept my mouth shut. And maybe those conversations happened before in my life, but I was just too young and too naive to just sort of pay attention to it. But then high school years and stuff like that, I started to Salabrici, one of our English teachers, was a role model to me, somebody that I looked up to a lot, actually, just as a person. And he sort of, in a sense, I kind of wanted to be him, white, You know, no, I'm kidding.
I was like, whoa.
No. I'm kidding. I'm a happy Latino. I'm proud. I'm a proud Latino. It was a joke. Jesus. I will be joking a lot more in season 2, so get used to it. No, but in all seriousness, like he set sort of a standard, you know, that I hadn't seen in my life too before, right? Like somebody who actually, and this might sound ridiculous, but somebody who spoke proper English, you know what I'm saying? Who kind of seemed to have their stuff together, even though he probably didn't. But to compared to the people that the male role models in my life, he pretty much did. Blew everybody out the water, actually. So as I got older, I started to gravitate towards more role models and stuff like that, and it kind of restructured my whole life given those examples. And you know, when it comes to my mom sort of teaching me the things that maybe a male role model did, like shaving, I had to learn on my own, you know, even though I really don't grow that much facial hair, but I wanted to at a certain point, right? Because they always tell you, or at least they told me, that when if you want to get facial hair, you start to shave, right? So that was a trip, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing it right because nobody's still taught me yet, you know, like I'm still winging it. Kidding, but so I got a laugh from Marco, guys. So you know, my mom did what she could. Obviously she couldn't teach me what a guy taught me, you know, but she did what she could, and you know, nunca me faltó nada in my life. So does that answer your question, Gene?
Yeah, it does, and I'm glad you hit on that point about you know, Salabrici.
Yeah.
I've had class. We all had. Me and Samo had class with him too. He was just a great role model. And to think about it, I think he was like 24 when he first started, or 25.
Crazy.
Yeah,
he was
or very young. But he really. I just remember him always. You know, at that time I would talk a lot. You know, I'd be the kid that's always talking. I wasn't a bad kid, but I'd always be active. I'd be hyper. And then I remember he'd pull me to the side pretty often and say, you know, hey, I need you to calm down. You know, he talked to me like just like a grown man, you know. Yeah. And I always loved that about him. But I definitely want to bring up the point that the teachers, I think teachers, coaches, tutors, anyone who really deals with children also need to realize that, to understand that the position that you apply for also comes with the task of being a role model. I've had coaches who've took that role serious. Looking back, like you said, looking back, you're taking the time, you know, like you said, you didn't, at that time, you didn't feel like you needed it, like you said, right? But yeah, looking back, I just remember the coaches, what they've taught us. I was fortunate to have my father in my life. But I know some of my teammates weren't, you know, in Kennedy, a lot of the kids didn't have father figures. And just seeing those coaches take their, seeing that and just applying as much as they could to teaching those children, taking it upon themselves to be a good role model, you know, kind of guiding them in certain areas that they probably don't get at home. And so I think that's very important when you take positions as teaching. I know in Samo, you've worked with children before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think? Like,
as far as like
just
being a role model?
Being a role model and taking a position that deals with children.
Well, you know, I started working at an elementary school as a tutor when I was in high school. So it was really an early age for me. And at that time, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I just got like tossed a ton of responsibility. And many times I'd have my own class, even though I probably wasn't supposed to. And so, yeah, like if you're not prepared for that, it could be overwhelming. Yeah. But over years of experience, working at different schools, learning a bunch, and just getting to know how to work with youth, you know, it's a very important role. Yeah. There's not enough males in the school system, especially the public school system. And so I've had experiences where youth have told me things like, you know, I wish you were my dad. And I just be like, oh, because it's kind of disheartening to know that they don't have someone like I don't know, I wouldn't say me, but someone that they could look up to, that they recognize as a male role model, you know. And that's happened to me multiple times, and when I see that, it's really sad. But at the same time, it just kind of goes to show that some of the young boys, especially, they're looking for somebody. You know, they're looking for someone that they can depend on, that they can seek for guidance, mentorship. But on the flip side of that, there are families that are together with a father figure around that may not be the best father figure. And so sometimes, even though they have a father around, it's not the best scenario.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, I don't know if your question was, how do I?
Yeah,
do
well, I
think it's
mean, it
important?
wasn't really just. I just wanted to go based off what he said. I actually was going to ask you a question similar to that going on later, but I mean, you kind of hit on it. The question I was going to ask you, I might as well just ask you now, was because I know you've worked with kids. Maybe you probably worked with them for about a whole decade. I want to say 10 years minimum. What do you remember seeing any children that didn't have their father figures, that maybe they weren't learning certain things that you think they could have learned by having one? Do you remember any of that? What did they lack? Anything that, you know?
Yeah, no, well, I feel like some lacked like discipline, and I don't mean like corporal punishment or anything like that. I just mean like, you know, sometimes they're like mad. Kids could be just like mad, and they just don't know why. You know, so I've definitely had experience with kids that just kind of maybe lash out, and maybe if they had someone that could kind of guide them a little bit through some of those emotions, they could kind of understand why and have a better sense of understanding of how to, you know, navigate those feelings. Because it's a challenge if you're a young man growing up, or a young boy, and you don't have someone to kind of say, like, you know, it's okay to cry, or, you know, you don't have to behave this way, because it may be the only experiences that they have, the only like role models they have, maybe someone on TV or someone who they perceive as like tough on a television show, and they think, okay, that's how I'm supposed to act. But if they had somebody to kind of guide them a little bit more in depth, so they could understand a little bit more, then I think that there's many kids out there who would benefit from having someone like that in their life.
You said something a little earlier. You said you had kids come up to you and say, "Oh, I wish you were my father," or things of that, you know, sort. I think that just speaks a lot of your character, as far as like it just sounded like you it sounded like you weren't looking to be the role model, but it just happened to be there. You know, I think that happens often with, you know, just how you carry yourself, and people gravitate towards that. Since I've known you matured a lot, like a lot. But I just always remember you've always had a good head on your shoulders. You know what I mean? You've always knew right from wrong.
Yeah, he was a very smart kid.
You know?
Thank you. But, you know, like, I didn't go into working with youth thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be this role model father figure to anybody or anything like that. And you know, it sometimes just kind of falls on your lap. You're just like, okay, this is kind of part of the job description that I didn't realize was part of the job description, you know? And like, and for me, having like kids say something like that, it's like, well, okay, my job here is important, you know, and you may not always realize the full, the grander scheme of things, you know, especially starting at a younger age, working with youth. But, you know, through my experiences and stuff like that, where kids tell you stuff like that, you're like, wow, you know, if they feel that way about, you know, me, like, oh, they wish I was their father or something like that, then it's like, wow, that's like a powerful thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I was like tearing up thinking about, you know, how they must have felt, you know. And at the same time, it's kind of sad, because in my capacity as, you know, an after school program coordinator or teacher or whatever is limited, you know. And so without the necessary resources, it's kind of beyond my capacity to be able to support them as much as they need, you know, because it's just like they're just with me for a, you know, short hour or whatever it may be, and then it's like, you know, they're on to the next class or something. So I feel like these are types of resources that youth really need.
Yeah.
And you know, I was actually part of a few different like boys groups that helped like with mentorship and stuff like that throughout my like school career and education and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think there needs to be more stuff.
I think
more programs.
You just go ahead, John.
So like one thing I just kind of wanted to tie into, which something you had said earlier today, right? So about breaking the cycle. People like Insomo, people like Salabrici inadvertently are breaking that cycle. So that's, to me, you're seeing it directly here. Well, actually secondhand, because Insomo's telling the story, but he is reaching out to kids in a strong enough form that they feel like, you know, he is a father figure, a role model. So they're developing sort of a mold of what a role model should be, a father figure should be. So they have a better idea of what it is that they want, you know, like, so that, you know, hopefully when they grow up, they can look at, you know, they can go back into the memory bank and be like, you know, I remember that one guy in Somo, man, like he's kind of what I want to be like when I'm a dad, you know. So that, I think that's part of maybe breaking that cycle, is having more positive male influences in the community, so that they can be aware that, hey, it isn't all about, you know, balancing and just not being there, you know, like there's people out there that you can actually structure, even if it isn't your dad, you know, like someone said, on the other side of that coin, you get a lot of fathers out there that are straight trash, you know. Unfortunately, I even know a few of them. So, you know, I just wanted to bring that back to sort of, you know, give an example of what breaking the cycle may be. It was for me, that's for sure, you know. So
you said breaking the cycle. I think that's amazing the way you just brought that up, because like not just having that father figure, but also like a male role model that will teach you things like unexpectedly. For example, I grew up with my father. He was always in my life. But then there's also things I've learned from other men, you know, that were older. I want to give you guys an example. So I've seen people that I've met who are amazing role models to children without them being their children of their own, and are extremely good stepfathers. Two of these guys are some of the closest friends. Victor, you guys know, and my friend TJ. I myself am a stepfather to a 9-year-old daughter, and before I could commit to being with my girlfriend, I took it upon myself to ask these amazing role models different questions to see if I could take on the task of being a father figure. I received some of the best advice from them, both of them being stepfathers. Give me all kinds of tips, things that I need to watch out for, things that are going to come up. And I just want to thank them. You know, outside of my father teaching me things, there's also people I've talked to who've helped me and guide me through things that maybe because my dad doesn't have stepchildren, you know. So I learned this from guys that I've seen, you know. Yeah, so it's not just, like you said, it's just male role models, it doesn't have to be the father. You also hit another thing that I want to talk about. You said there's, you know, lack of a better word, there's piece of shit dads out there, and I've seen it. We all know at least maybe one. I don't know, but out of those, I've seen dads who are okay with just being, you know, a weekend dad or every other weekend, you know. And if just I crunch the numbers, and that's basically, if you're a weekend dad out of, you know, 2 days out of the month, that's 24 days out of 365 days a year. That's 6% of the child's life that you're there. Double it up if they're every other weekend, that's you know, about 12% you're there of the child's life. And I think that's crazy to think about it in that way, to where you're not in the child's life for more than that, more than half, more than 3/4 of their life. Damn near 9% if you just doing the minimum. People are okay with that, and I think we need to bring attention to that, to say that's the bare minimum. And I don't think that we should just be okay with that. You know. All right. So, but that's just, yeah. I don't know. I just felt like I was getting riled up with that.
Yeah.
But all right. So, I have a question for Diana. From a female's perspective, of course, I've got, from Anselmo and John, their perspective. From you, I want to know, are there any things that you may have learned from a male role model that maybe a female role model in your family might not have been able to teach you, show you, anytime throughout your life?
Oh, for sure. So, the things I can only really speak about my experience. I don't know about other women that grew up with, their fathers or whatever the case is. But in my case, I grew up with a great dad, not only a great dad, but, fortunately a really good mom too. And so my mom, the roles were kind of reversed. So when I was growing up, my mom was like, she had her own business. She was gone most of the time. And my dad was like the caretaker. So with that, like, I actually learned like more of the compassionate side from my dad. Like, I don't have a crazy out there like ratchet personality. I'm like super chill and calm. I got that from my dad. That temperament is from my dad. And also like from my dad, I also use him as like a baseline, right? Like minimum when it comes to partners, they should at least be respectful, right? They should at least be kind. If not, it's like, well, what's the point? I can get love from my parents, from my family members. Like, I don't need to tolerate certain things from other male figures. Like, I don't need any of that, like, negative energy. So, because of my dad and also my brothers, because I grew up with 3 brothers, they really taught me to...
Except Nacho.
Yeah, Nacho, yeah. They really taught me how to, like, value myself. So, that's one thing I can definitely say I, like, learned from my dad. And also... my dad also cooks, Mm-hmm. He's like an amazing chef. So, well, not like an actual chef, but he cook. Anybody that knows my dad knows that he cooks, right? So to me, it's like when I hear like all that BS, when guys are like, "Oh, I can't cook. Like I burn myself on the stove, whatever." I'm like, you know what? You can learn. You can read instructions. My dad did it. He cooks just as good as my mom. So, like that, it completely flipped my like expectations of men and how to value myself and like what to tolerate and what not tolerate,
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like you can cook a little better than your mom.
Yeah.
Oh.
My mom cooks the Mexican
Trying to
food,
stir things up here,
right?
Samba.
Super good, A1. My mom just like cooks really good Mexican food. My dad, he cooks American food, right? The clam chowder, the ribs, the steak, all that stuff.
Man.
And then my dad, like, he also was there when it came to field trips, when it came to like when Princess Diaries came out, my dad took me, right? Like all these little things, like Lizzie McGuire movie came out, my dad took me, So that's just like something that a male figure provided in my life, some discipline, but at the same time empathy. So at least from my perspective, yeah.
Are you a Gordo fan?
No, I'm a Lizzie fan.
Lizzie.
I'm a Lizzie fan.
What's up, Lizzie?
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister was a Lizzie fan. But yeah, like I think one of the things you talked about was how that helped teach you like how to value yourself,
Mm-hmm.
having a father figure around, and like what to expect out of a male. So I think that there was like some really, really, really important values that you learned there.
Yeah.
That's really insightful.
And it's like, because my mom, for example, she was a business owner. That's great. Like she was the breadwinner for the most part, right? So it was like a lot of the time she couldn't be at home, So my dad, he worked too, but they just had opposite schedules. So, I mean, that just completely, like I said, that's my side, right? But that's just like the value of a male figure can have in your life. Imagine if my dad wasn't there. That's like all that time, right? That my mom wouldn't be there to take care of me. you know. So someone wouldn't be there to like go to these key events in my life, to even do like fun little stuff and like tell me respect yourself, like all these other things. I would have never got that whole side of the coin, you know.
And let me just sort of give you guys a story of what can happen if you're not there essentially for your kids. So Friday, I just started a new position in Oakland, and on Friday we got off early because a day before, or if there's ever every day before a holiday, we get to leave early,
Nice.
which is dope. So I get off and I'm walking towards Bart, and I had a voicemail from a good friend of mine, and essentially the voicemail said that I talked to your auntie, and your dad is here and he wants to see you. And I was kind of blown back, like I didn't know what to think. I was confused. A lot of stuff were going in my head. I was just shocked. I wasn't angry at all or anything like that. And I was actually texting with Marco. So I was texting with Marco pretty much like for like a few hours, like throughout the day. And we were talking about, picking up the camera, his thing for the phone. So the phone stays steady so I can take videos of our hike.
Gotcha.
And I told him, I was like, man, you know what, dude, something heavy just kind of came up, man. Like, I'm not sure, So that was it, Marco. So that was it. And so on the BART ride home, I had to pretty much decide, because they told me that he was leaving soon, right? So I had to kind of decide quick whether I was going to let him see me or not. So the BART ride is about 20 minutes, and I thought, honestly, I was going to take the whole day, but I kind of figured 20 minutes, I figured out what I wanted to do. So, I kind of came to this thought process. I'm not going to have it on my conscience that I didn't let him see me, because he's getting older now. The guy told me that my dad's 72. I don't know, mind you guys, I don't know anything about my dad, right? I don't remember what he looked like. I don't know, obviously, how old he was. I didn't know anything, but the guy told me, he was like, hey, he's 72 now. Like, he's kind of on the tail end of his life. And so that kind of drove me to be like, okay, man, if I don't let him see me, I don't want to have that on my chest, that at least I didn't let him see me. Like, maybe by him getting some stuff off his chest, can help him sleep a little better at night or something, or rest easy, Yeah. So I get to go see him, right? I get to to my brother's house, actually, which I just, it was a day. It was a Friday.
Wow.
So get to my brother's house, and so he opens the door. I walk in. I hugged him. We sit down. He did the old man sit down. He was like, kind of. I was like, okay, yeah, he's kind of, he's kind of, he really is on, at the tail end of his life. And I'm listening to him. I'm trying my hardest to listen to him, but it's kind of like going in one ear and out the other. Like it's kind of like I was so underwhelmed. Like I thought initially it was going to be like this big spectacle, something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, kind of. Some shit's gonna happen that's going to be. I haven't seen this guy in forever, right?
Wow.
And it wasn't. It was such a fucking letdown. It was just so underwhelming. And I left kind of like thinking to myself, like, that was it? That's it? So just use this as an example. Say if it reaches to somebody, don't think that you not being there, you being absent, will go without any kind of consequence. You know, like this guy lived his whole life, you know, without seeing me or my sister. And now he's 72. Now he wants to come and see me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I don't know what is going on in his head or what's weighing on his shoulders for him to want to come see me now. But obviously there's something there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something that's weighing on him enough to be like, I need to kind of make peace with this now before it's too late. So, you know, just to sort of like use this story, and it's so funny, man, because one of the first things I thought in my mind was like, G kind of this is before the topic was even like was even picked, right? I mean, I'm sorry, this was after the topic was picked, because you guys don't know this, but this topic was supposed to be happen 2 weeks ago. You know, so you know it's just kind of funny how life works, but. You know, use this example as this, you know, you being absent and stuff will not go unpunished. You know, like that shit will weigh heavy on you one way or the other. Maybe in 2 years, or in my dad's example, fucking 33 years later. Yeah. So just another thing to keep in mind. You guys.
So man, first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing that, man. That's crazy. I had no idea that happened. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, I'll say that you know, I believe that you turned out to be a stand-up guy. So like,
I can stand out too,
you know, stand up, all that. So you know, who knows? You know, had he been around, maybe you would have turned out to be a different guy, and it wouldn't be the John that I know. Yeah. So man, I could just imagine how many different emotions you went through that day, and I can only imagine that decision to actually go meet this person that you hadn't met or seen in forever, and sharing that on the podcast. I think that I know that takes courage and bravery, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Right on, man. I think you know, it's I didn't know whether I was going to talk about it or not. If I would have planned on it, I would have said it a lot earlier. But I just kind of feel like it's just something that obviously goes with the topic.
The timing is crazy, bananas, right? Like,
man, like
that's, you can't make it up.
You really can't. You can't make it up. But
you know, like having awareness, you know, I think is one thing too. Like growing up, you may not realize, or someone may not realize, having someone in their life or not having someone in their life, father in their life, impacts them, right? And then at a certain point, and this happens, I think, with many other things in our lives, where you come to the realization that, oh, okay, this kind of impacted me when I was younger, and maybe this is why I feel or have this opinion about the things that I do now as an adult. And so having that heightened level of awareness sometimes doesn't hit you right away, you know? So the way that you feel about this situation now, you know, could change in a month or a week or a year, you know? So as a young person growing up, it sounds like almost maybe there was an expectation or like a grand arrival that you were kind of waiting for. It almost sounds like when you spoke about it being underwhelming. Yeah. And I've heard like stories like kids thinking like, oh yeah, my dad's gonna pick me up in a limo, and he's gonna like take me to Disneyland and stuff like that. You know, I was expecting, you know, and there's like kids that like are waiting and hoping that, holding on to a thread or a shred of hope to believe and want to believe that someday something like that's gonna happen, and then when it doesn't, it can hurt, you know. And so I think having a life experience to understand that there's different ways you can like comprehend or take a scenario or situation and process it. So I feel like this is really recent, so I feel like you're probably going to continue processing this and thinking about it for a little while.
Oh yeah, you know? Definitely. But like, you know, what you just said right now, you know, because I think at the end of the day, well, I think for the most part, we're still all kids, and we still hold a lot of that kid stuff in us, right? So what do you think, you know, your dad is? You think he's Superman? You think he's well, at least the stuff that you see on TV, right?
Yeah.
You know, you that's another thing that shapes what a dad should be, right? Obviously. So, and then, you know, well, at least in my case, I, you know, get to the spot and this, you know, he's an old tripled kind of like, I don't want to say a sad guy, but damn near, you know? So I don't know. I mean, I still, that's the only thing I can kind of tie it to. Like, I had that I still had that kid dad impression. Like he's gonna be able to beat me up at least. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in a sense, and it sounds
Yeah,
funny to
that's
say
definitely
so.
like a kid's thought process, you know, like
Right?
beat me up, you know.
Exactly.
I'll beat
right?
your ass.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he can
Yeah.
still whoop me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he definitely can't whoop me. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much, man.
Yeah. No, like I definitely know that thought process.
You know,
I
so
don't
so yeah, so that just recently happened to me. Gee, sorry to sort of, you know, sidetrack your show here, man.
No, man, I'm glad. Sometimes, man, like I chose this subject just because I knew it was gonna hit home as far as me, with me having a child coming up, but just different situations going around. Not just me, but you know, within my family members. I always just have I've always like had a feeling for things. Just go ahead and do it, and it always turns out good. It works out for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like thanks for telling that story. I know you didn't need to, but I mean that's what's part of the podcast. We are true. We are just telling you guys what we actually feel, and I mean you got it live and direct there. I mean it's the story that he just told you. I mean it doesn't get more real than that.
Yeah, we hadn't even heard that. But
yeah,
I have a follow-up question.
Shoot.
You opened up about this, and I don't want to pry or anything.
No, shoot.
But I'm curious, and maybe the viewers may be curious too. If you don't have to answer if you don't like to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan to keep contact or try and maintain a relationship with this man?
So that topic came up, right? So he asked, you know, he said essentially, I understand that maybe the father son thing isn't a possibility anymore, but is there a chance that maybe we could become friends, right? And you know, I told him I don't have any hatred towards you. I don't have any I don't have anything towards you. I don't have love for you. I don't have hate for you. But that's exactly what it is that I don't have anything for you. So it's essentially meeting a stranger, right?
Yeah.
Here's my phone number. But whether you choose to call me or not, just know I'm gonna be okay. You know? If you choose not to call me, then nothing happened. You know?
Yeah.
Like essentially nothing happened. And he hasn't called me yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where I still don't have any hate or animosity towards him, even after this whole thing, you know? At the end of the day, like I said, I did it in a very selfish kind of way. I did it for me, you know, because I didn't want to have that on my chest, that I denied him a chance to see me. But
let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Did
he look like you?
You know what? He nah, man. He kind of didn't. He kind of didn't. So yeah, I think the only thing that I can really attribute to him is my skin color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom's pretty dark. She's dark complected a little bit.
Yeah, she's like D's color. My mom's like D's color, but yeah, he's more my shade. So, but
man, so I know G had talked about doing this whole. Thanks for really sharing all that and being so open about that, man. I had no idea that you experienced all that over this short weekend and stuff, because I seen you.
Yeah.
And it's like I had no idea. So
man, I thought about bringing it up a few times, but then I was like, man, it probably isn't the time.
Yeah.
Place. I was gonna tell Marco, you know, about it. Like, I think all I sent to Marco was like something heavy just kind of came up, and then I stopped my fingers like let's just see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? Let's just see how this actually goes before I tell anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is actually my first time really talking about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I had asked my mom beforehand, just out of respect, like, hey, if I go see him, will you be offended or mad or anything? And she was like, hell not,
Yeah.
do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Just out of respect for her. And besides that, she hasn't asked me anything. Like, nobody's really,
Yeah.
So,
man.
Yeah.
Well, that was really powerful that you shared that. But to change the subject just a little bit, G had talked about doing a best TV dad debate.
Yeah.
Dang, I didn't even research that.
Just off the top of your head.
the top of your head.
Really quickly,
Okay.
I'm interested to know, because it kind of begs a question back to you, since you're gonna have kids soon. I'm curious to know what you think a good role model dad is, and what you plan on. I'm sure you're thinking about, oh, I'm gonna be this type of dad for my son or my daughter, whatever the case is. So what is your take on that? Like, what do you think it is?
So I've thought about that a lot, just because I've learned a lot of good and bad from my dad. As far as how he reacts to things, how he raised us. I love my father. There's certain things I think he could have probably done better, but I mean, he was a young dad. He had my brother at the age of 17. Also take good and bad from another male role model, which is my grandfather who passed away. That one really hit me hard because he was always more of a serious kind of guy with everybody. With me, he was more just funny. He's always funny. So I've always thought about this. Just taking the pros and cons from what I've learned throughout the last couple of years, from my father, from anything that I've learned. I don't think I've told myself with having a child I'm going to be specifically this way, just because children are different. And I've learned, as far as my siblings, we all have different personalities. So I've kind of know the basics that I want to go with when my son is born. Teaching them respect, how to talk to people. But other than that, I think it'll just flow. It's just because personalities are different. I've thought of different ways that his personality will be. Because when I was younger, I was very, very hyper. My girlfriend, she's a little more calmer than I am. So either she has, if he comes out with my personality or her personality, I kind of thought it out with how I will approach him. So I think the perfect male role model, I don't think there is one. I think it's just the way you go about teaching people certain things with their personality. So I think it differs for everybody. So I've thought about it. I just think I'm not going to be a certain way with my son and saying I'm going to be this and that when my son's born. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow and see how he is, because not everybody learns. Not everybody learns the same way, is what I'm trying to say. Everybody learns different. The way you talk to people, has an effect on how people are raised. Because as far as my brother, he's calmer than I am. I was hyper, and I just seen how my dad was kind of the same way with all of us. We kind of went different ways just because we learned differently. The way you talk to certain kids, the other one might not be able to, understand. For example, my stepdaughter, she's extremely calm. Like, man, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have a hyper son. I'm not even lie to you, but just seeing how each person is, I think there's no way I can say I'm gonna be specific with my son. There's no way. I just have to see how it comes out.
That's a good approach, because I feel like some people are like, oh, I'm gonna, spank them, I'm gonna this, I'm gonna that, but then like being a disciplinarian sometimes doesn't work on someone that needs like love and empathy, that can completely break them. So that's a good point. That's a really good answer.
And I'm glad you asked that, because the reason why I don't know if I've told you guys this, but I've always thought about being a father since I was like a teen, how I'm gonna be. Not that I wanted to be a father right away, but I've always thought, when I'm older, I want to know how I'm gonna be ready to be a father. What are the things that I'm gonna do? And I got older, it just started building off of it, and I think it's just the timing is perfect for me. I'm in a point in my life where I know everything's going great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always thought about it, and I tell my girlfriend that like since I was like, as long as I can remember, I always thought about how I'm gonna be when you know I have children. And I don't think certain guys are like that, you know. But yeah, you asked me a question.
No, I would agree with you that you have calmed down and that you are at a good place to step into this fatherhood.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, so
Yeah.
congratulations again on that.
Thank
And I'm excited for you.
And you guys say, we all say, I was extremely like, I don't know, hyper out there.
You?
Yeah.
Nah.
like since, you know, I've always just that personality. Now I've calmed down. But and so just to light it up a little bit, you said best father figure on TV.
Yeah, TV dads.
I think there's a lot, man. I think there's a lot of movies and just shows that kind of put that role out there.
All right, how about this? I'm gonna give everyone 10 seconds. Think about it, and you just blurt it out. TV dad in the comments too. Well, let's see. Let's start a debate. TV dad, top TV dad. I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds. We're gonna go ahead.
Could we be more specific about the is like good dad?
Good.
Or just like popular?
Like no, not just popular. Great question. Like a role model.
Like a role
Like
model
someone you're
dad?
like, that's a good father.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, do we need 10 seconds? I'm good to go.
I'm good, yeah.
What are you gonna
All
write
right.
down?
I'm gonna go. You guys ready? On three?
Yeah.
1,
Mhm.
2, 3.
Three.
Uncle
Ned
Phil.
Stark.
Phil Banks.
Ned Stark.
Okay, well I missed it. Okay.
Who did you say?
Who did you say, Diana?
Ned Stark.
Ned Stark.
Ned
Yeah.
Stark.
He's a bomb dad.
Yeah.
How could you
Yeah.
guys say
Ned Stark.
like
What, I don't know this.
Game of
one.
Thrones.
from Game of Thrones?
Oh,
He
okay.
doesn't know
Stark.
Game
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Thrones.
Get
I
outta
just
here.
got into it. I'm in
Yeah.
the 6th season right now,
Yeah.
so that's why it's fresh in my head. But
Yeah.
I was so sad when he died. I was like, oh my god, he's a great dad. I mean, a little bit, machista, whatever, but that's fine. He's like
Different times.
such
Different time.
a good dad to Arya.
I've been hearing so many,
hmm
like even still, people are still talking about this show. I've still haven't watched it.
You know what, man? I don't really stick to shows. But that one is a good one. That one is a goodie. Easy to get into, right off the bat. And I was surprised too when they offed him because he was.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Sorry.
Spoiler alert!
He's lying.
Like
Those
a
of you-
main character. Like I thought he was,
Yeah,
he
I was
gonna be-
thinking that too. I was like,
for a
oh
minute.
yeah, he's gonna
Earmuffs.
be in it. I was so mad.
See, but then they killed what? No, man.
Yeah.
Everybody dies.
So-
Gee,
I want to say, so you said father, right?
Yeah.
But first thing that came to mind, just because you said you're watching Game of Thrones now.
Mhm.
I was watching Cobra Kai.
okay.
Cobra Kai. So
Uh-huh,
that's when Daniel, from
Daniel San
Karate Kid,
Yeah.
he's growing up.
Mhm.
So just because I've been watching this, I watched it the whole weekend, 2 seasons of it. A male role model, Mr. Miyagi. He wasn't Daniel's father,
Mm-hmm.
but he was a great role model, and that's one thing I wanted to hit on, because you don't have to be somebody's father by blood.
Mhm.
Just teaching somebody who's younger ways that are better for them, things that they might not learn out there. Children's minds are wondering, just guiding them in certain ways. I think that specific movie, he showed Daniel, who did not have a father. His father died at the age of 8, I believe. So throughout his teens, he just didn't have any guidance. So that's why, just because I've recently watched it, I chose him. I think he was a great role model. So you asked for father, but I chose him as a role model.
That's a good one.
No, I think that works.
I got some TV to watch.
Yeah, TV to watch. What about Homer J. Simpson?
Whoa! Is that who you yelled out?
Nah, that's who I was gonna yell out because I didn't. That's why I asked like the specifics of the question. Like, are you talking about just any dad? Like, Homer is probably one of the most popular dads.
Yeah.
He's a sweet dad.
You think
He's
so?
like a good,
He chokes
empathetic.
Bart pretty often.
He's misunderstood.
He does, but to Lisa, to Marge, yeah. And he does love Bart, so he does show he's kind of dopey, whatever, but you can see the empathy there,
Yeah, Peter Griffin.
I'm more of a Simpsons kind of.
You're a Simpsons guy?
Kind of guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm both.
I started watching Futurama.
That's a good one.
Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders is a dope dad, dude. He's actually like a legit sort of cookie cutter dad, though. But I mean,
one thing I want
to judge.
I want to hit on a thing. Just because Diana also said it. She feels like her father and they kind of switch roles, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, my mom, my dad.
Yeah. This whole topic, I definitely didn't want to say, oh, this is something that just males can do or females can't do certain things. I did not want to hit on that. I specifically want to hit on male role models, just because I think I wanted to bring the attention to people that are around me and just kind of bring this up. I think it's something that we need to talk about and keep in mind and always talking about it, just so we understand that we are and can be role models. You know what I mean? Women can do certain things, men can do certain things. We could all, do different things that we can do. But I think just having a male and a female, or just even having two parents, does a difference. You know what I mean? Being active, just having one parent, whether that's either a mom, either a dad, raising the children, you can't play good cop, bad cop. You can't do both, so just putting it out there, keep that in mind, that you guys, there's more than just playing that one role. You have to have that balance.
I have one more question for you, if you don't mind. So you're not only a dad, but you're a stepdad too. So I don't want to pry either. I definitely took tips from him, so I don't want to pry either. But on your end, is the dad present for your stepdaughter's side?
Yes.
And how do you navigate that? Like,
so,
from kind of a step.
I think just not to. I don't really like to go into that.
Yeah.
Usually, however, I will say it was something that just gradually happened. Like we talked about being young, having children. As you grow older, you know what I mean. You start being into. You mature yourself. I think just over time, he's stepped in. But I think just with my time when I spoke, that I talked to Vic and I talked to TJ. I try to do what I could do for the child. You know what I mean? That's the first thing that came into mind. Not what somebody else is not there for, what somebody else is there for, but what I can do and bring to the table. I think that's something that I thought about before I, got into the relationship, because it is not just the person you're talking to in the relationship, but it's also the child. And so
it's actually very good.
Yeah, so I really thought about that. It's something that not what somebody else is absent, or what they are doing, but how you can come about in helping the child in a different way. You necessarily don't have to fill a void, but you can just do it your own way.
What have you taught? What do you think have you tried to instill in your stepdaughter?
I think, like I said earlier, my girlfriend, she's more calm. She's more the emotional, sensitive, and I know she gives into a lot of things, like maybe not putting that pressure on her to do her schoolwork as much as I was taught. I think me just being more of that, it's gonna go this way and no other way, kind of just being that backbone for her. And when she gets kind of not soft, but just kind of just has that empathy and like just kind of not wanting to put pressure, making her cry as well, because they have the similar personalities where they're very emotional. So I try to do it to where I, I'm just like, it's either this way, and I'm doing it because it's for your own good, you know. So yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just something that I've grown to. It's happened because obviously before this, this is the closest thing I've had to a child yet. But like I told you, since I was a teen, I've always thought about it, and I think it was perfect timing with everything, and I'm happy with my life. And you know, when I was younger, I didn't think I was gonna talk to somebody with a child, but it did happen, and I stepped in as best I could.
You know, I'm a single dog dad. It's tough. It's a lot tougher than you guys think. You know, the guy,
I've been there.
Yeah.
Feel your pain.
So yeah, me and the son
Hang
were
in
actually
there.
in that same boat.
Hang in there.
You know, it's patience. It'll probably be the biggest thing. Patience.
You're doing a good job. You know,
I try my best.
he's
Crucito.
a good kid.
Shout out Crucito.
That kid. Cito and Hercules are watching at home.
Watching at home. Couple fun facts really quick.
Yeah.
You guys know about the emperor penguin?
I do actually. Yeah. The emperor penguin actually takes care of the not so much of the hatchling, but he stays with the egg while the female heads out. So they all right. So there's a movie called the Emperor's March, I think is what it's called, or something like that, where they depict and they show a little bit more about it. But essentially, the emperor male stays with the little guy unhatched, warming it, while the mom goes and gets to the shore to eat, because she
Moral of the story: don't be afraid to be an emperor penguin.
I'm gonna start calling my dad that.
That's what I was thinking. I was gonna say it.
I'm gonna start calling him that. Yeah,
I did not want to say it.
Did you guys?
Hey,
Did you guys
said
know
it, so I
that
can.
that penguins are monogamous? So go out there and find your penguin
Yeah, find your penguin
as well.
Yeah.
Or if you want to take it a step further,
Find
you guys
your
know about the
penguin.
seahorse?
I do.
go
I do actually.
go ahead.
It's essentially
My A+ student over here.
No, I mean, I see. The thing
He's
is
on it
that
today.
the thing is that, like, as a kid, I was a scholastic guy, you know. So I used to read of all of those things. So along with the seahorse, the sea dragon is the same thing as well. So they the kids latch on to the seahorse,
The male.
to the male seahorse, and so he's the one that carries them along until they're
Fertilizes the eggs.
fertilize the eggs until they
So if you want to take it a step further, go ahead and be the male seahorse. You know, be a trendsetter.
it's a little. I mean, if you look at it, it's a little disgusting what they do, but you just imagine
Talking about all these things makes me want to go watch Finding Nemo.
There you go.
Man,
That's a
love
classic. That's a classic.
You know what? Hands down, Nemo's dad, best dad.
that.
That fool.
I was gonna say Uncle Phil,
Yeah, no, Uncle Phil for sure.
Fresh Prince.
I think that's just so cliche.
That's
Dude,
It's
but
a hot
Everybody
take.
goes-
He's kind of basic. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
you know.
He's
an
To
uncle.
me, anyway.
But that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? Ah,
All right, fellas and ladies, we are reaching that. I think we passed the.
Yeah. We did.
Did I
have to
change my, I
extend it
changed
next
my thing?
season.
Into,
you know what I think it was? I think it's
Military.
our last episode, and we just didn't want to finish.
not just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, grand finale. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's show. Looking at the comments, we definitely appreciate everyone sharing and go ahead and want to give everybody who tuned in a big shout out. Appreciate you all. Man.
Any more shout outs, people?
Uh,
Anybody want to shout out?
talked about Vic. He actually just commented right now. A really good friend of mine. He
Great
said,
dad, too.
yeah, definitely a great father.
dad.
I've learned a lot from Victor. I consider one of my close friends. He said, whatever you do, have fun. The father experience is a wonderful experience, which I think is true. And coming from him, it just, means a lot. Shout out to Vic, man.
D, you got any shout outs? Anybody you want to? Your dad?
Yeah, shout out to my dad for being an emperor penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that Vic's
Yeah.
on there, shout out to Vic because he's an amazing stepdad. You know,
Shout out
that's
to
my
Vic.
cousin, so I see it, you know, right there, and he's the one that broke that cycle, you know. So not to put him on blast or anything, but yeah, he broke that cycle. You know, he didn't have a dad, but the people that he raised are great children. Took in a step, you know, daughter, and doesn't even call her a stepdaughter. He just says that's my daughter, you know. So yeah, shout out to him for sure.
I want to give a shout out to all the moms playing both roles. You know, I think G hit it on the spot.
Yeah.
Where he says, you know, anybody can be a role model. For me, one of my biggest role models is obviously my mom. She taught me hard work and work ethic. So definitely a shout out to those playing both sides of the field. Shout out to Marco.
We can't go an episode without shouting out Marco.
We can't go without shouting out Marco. Shouting out Marco.
Yeah.
And you know, I kind of feel bad for Marco right now. He you guys didn't catch that, but he showed up Giselle right now.
Ooh.
he just showed up Giselle. Marco, there was a little bit of trash talking in the comments, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. Was it about the food?
It was about the food.
So I got it.
I think next time we see Marco, he might be shedding a few pounds.
Oh.
Because Giselle, I wouldn't be cooking for Marco
Oh.
for at least a week till next episode. Or at least till next season. How about that?
Or how about both of you guys make a dish for the podcast and we be the deciding factor?
Everybody wins. There you go.
But in all honesty, I want to thank you guys. Definitely my co-hosts here, me, everybody who always tunes in. I can always name names on here that you know who tunes in. People who've helped us. You know, it's an amazing thing that we've been doing. I love it. I'm having fun with the podcast, of course. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, last episode of the season. You guys have anything to say about the season in general?
You know, I can't finish an episode without shouting out Lady too. Lady,
For sure.
she does all the
Lady.
social media stuff, and so she helps make sure the viewers, people interested in watching it, they actually know that it's going to be on, and so it wouldn't be possible without her. Definitely takes a little bit of teamwork, and I feel like she's a major part of the team. So shout out, Lady.
Yeah,
she's a real one.
Yeah,
you picked a phenomenal partner, a really supportive, down, like A1 partner for sure.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, that's all I have to say.
Well, I think we should probably end it like this, Marco. Go ahead.